So if you're transitioning from being a maker role to a multiplier role, there's a couple of things that will change. So firstly, you're going to have a lot of meetings, and this annoys a lot of makers, right? So I know this because like when I'm focused creating something, I hate interruptions. I know it's like one of my triggers. And meetings are normally one of the things that will interrupt your flow. As a maker, you often talk about flow. You want to be deep in your
Yeah.
problem. You want to be creative in how you solve it, and a meeting is going to interrupt that. So that's definitely one of the things that's going to change. There's going to be more meetings. The second thing for a lot of makers, and this is what I see a lot of people struggle with, is you're going to have to interact with a whole bunch of other people. And typically, these are people from other teams and departments. And so communication skills is like an underdeveloped skills for a lot of makers, right? A lot of makers are used to, say, talking tech, and we talk about tools like Kubernetes and Docker, or like frameworks and acronyms. But when you're talking to somebody from, say, finance or marketing, they'll just lose it, right? They won't understand what you're saying. And I see a lot of people struggle with this. So the good example is in the technical world, people often talk about technical debt. And then they say to somebody like a product person or a marketing person, yeah, we can't do this because of technical debt. But like in a business world, like debt is actually a good thing, right? It's like, so, okay, we have some interest to pay a bit later, but it means we can do more now than later, right? And so this is where like the same phrase creates a miscommunication. And so when you're dealing with a lot of other people, firstly, a lot of people from other departments and teams are often incentivized or motivated by different things than makers. And then B, the way that you need to communicate with them is going to be really, really different as well. So I think dealing with a wide variety of people, that's probably the second big shift that's going to change there as well. I could talk about more, but I'll talk about maybe one more point. And I think this has to do with dealing with uncertainty. And I hear this a lot from a lot of makers. It's like, we just need somebody to make an assumption, to make a decision, and then I can engineer this perfect like solution, right? Like I need somebody to come up, and this is the term that people use, requirements. And this word bugs me so much because there is no real requirements often. Like a lot of these are just hypotheses or desires or wants. And it's one of the reasons why a lot of agile methods talk about user stories rather than requirements, because it's more about like an outcome that somebody is trying to achieve, not really a hard requirement. But as a maker, you're often used to a whole bunch of certainty, right? So typically maybe a product manager and maybe the engineering manager have worked to sort of create a set of stories or tickets or features, and they're pretty certain to a certain degree. But suddenly, as a tech lead or engineering manager, there's a whole bunch of uncertainty, right? You don't really know what the business wants to do in Q3. You don't really know what other departments are going to do. And you have to deal with a whole bunch of uncertainty. And for a lot of makers, it makes them very, very uncomfortable. And I recognize this in myself as well, is that I had to get used to this level of uncertainty as well, is that you want people to have made decisions, but again, technical leaders can't really influence a decision if the decision's already been made. And so a lot of multipliers will struggle with that uncertainty.
So some people will be listening and tuning into this and maybe recognizing some of these things that you're mentioning and understanding maybe that's where they are at the moment. But let's just say that like they take the feedback on board and they start to like, what does the work feel like when things start to change and they start to get it right? And almost what does that future state look like?